Hi, this is Kit Miller from the Gandhi Institute for Nonviolence, and thanks again for coming back for our third week of conversation with Arun Gandhi and Jonathan Jones. This week we're going to be talking about anger, and specifically I'm going to ask you, Arun and Jonathan, to respond to these two questions. What does anger have to do with nonviolence? And how can we be nonviolent when we feel a lot of anger?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And thank you for asking that, Kit. I think that anger is at the root of all the violence. I mean, like my grandfather said, that anger is like electricity. It is useful and positive if we use it intelligently, but it can be deadly and destructive if we abuse it. So when we abuse anger, we end up with a lot of violence there. But if we use that anger intelligently, we are able to find non-violent ways of dealing with the issue and resolve the issues there. Now, there again, like I said earlier in one of my talks, that when we get angry and when we use violence, we attack the person and we destroy the person in the hope that by destroying the person, we are destroying the conflict or the problem. But when we react non-violently, then both sides of the conflict get together and attack the problem itself and try to find a solution how to deal with the problem. So that's the difference between violence and non-violence. And we have used violence in many of the conflicts nationally as well as individually. And later we find that in spite of all the violence, we really haven't resolved the problem at all. One of the best examples of this at a national level or the world's level is the World War II that we fought to destroy Nazism and the hate and the prejudice that Nazis were promoting. We destroyed 60 million human beings in that war. But at the end of it, we find that that philosophy of hate and prejudice still continues to live and thrive and affect us every day. So one must ask, what did we achieve by killing 60 million young people in a war that didn't resolve any issues at all? So if we'll analyze all of the conflicts in that sense, we'll find that we have always destroyed human beings, but never destroyed the conflict. And so we have to find better ways of dealing with this. And the best way is what Gandhi said, that nonviolence. Uh, in nonviolence, we can both get together and find an amicable solution and put that conflict away. Um, I think, we have as a lot of um, issues in society that we are going to deal with, relationships, uh, anger, prejudices, hate, and all of these things that affect our societies everywhere. We have to look at these issues and see how best we can resolve them. Uh, I have seen, for one of the things that, like the Black Lives Matter issue, is something that has been going on for many centuries. Um, the hate and the prejudice there, and every time it comes up and some law is passed and we feel satisfied and we go back again to our lives thinking that the problem has been resolved. And then a few years later, we find that the problem has not been resolved and it goes on. Uh, like Civil Rights Act was passed 60 years ago, 70 years ago, and everybody sat back and thought that, oh, this is going to be fine. Now integration has been achieved. And what it has done is it made it possible for people of color to go to places where they were denied in the past, to go to institutions, to get opportunities to get education and learn. But it has not brought about the integration that we wanted. And that is because a law can enable a person to do things that they were not allowed to do in the past, but there is no law on earth that can make one person respect another person if they don't want to. So that is where we are stuck now. That the civil rights movement has achieved the freedom to be where they want to be, but there is no integration because there is no respect between people there. Now, how do we build respect between people is the question, and that can only be done through nonviolence, through love. Like Dr. King said, that we can conquer hate with love and violence with nonviolence, but we can't do it uh, with hate. I mean, we can't conquer hate with more hate. We only multiply hate by doing that. So these are aspects of the philosophy of nonviolence that all of us need to learn and to practice, and that's how we are going to conquer this whole issue of prejudices and hate. And there are many things in life. Like I said, we have to be very conscious about and deal with it by changing them in ourselves. When we learn to respect people, people will respect us. When we learn to love people, people will love us. Uh, we can't expect people to do things that we don't do ourselves. And these are, issues that are part of the philosophy of nonviolence. And now I will ask Jonathan Jones to speak a little on this subject through his own personal experiences.
Yes, so anger and nonviolence. Well, I mean, one of the things I learned from about anger is that anger is an emotion, and today I'm able to admit that I feel angry. In the past, when I was younger, I never wanted to admit that I was ever angry. I made it seem like everything was all right. So I admit that I'm angry now. And I've also learned that anger without a understanding and a practice and the way of life uh, of nonviolence, I tend to focus my anger on people. So when I get angry, it's somebody's fault. And that somebody is somebody done pissed me off, done got me angry. And I believe that if I hurt this person or if I do something to get back at this person, then I would no longer feel angry. And that right there just kept me living in anger. That got me hurt. over the years. I done hurt others over the years. But when I began to practice nonviolence, learn about nonviolence, and right now, let me share with you guys is that I am no nonviolent expert. I am learning every day and I'm trying to practice every day. Some days it's harder than others, but I just stay on the way of life of nonviolence. So what I learned about nonviolence is, like Arun said, that there's always conflict. I mean, conflict with myself, conflict with others. And how I handle that conflict has a lot to do with anger and nonviolence also. Because now when I use anger, when I get angry and I'm practicing nonviolence, then I don't focus on the person, I focus on the conditions, because I understand that, you know what it is? It's not the person that made me angry. And if I want to change this situation so that this anger doesn't turn into hatred, that I don't hold on to this anger for weeks and weeks, and then I don't start practicing internal violence of the spirit, I have to do something about this anger. And if I focus on the person, then the anger is going to stay there. But if I focus on the conditions, that right there can help me then get the anger that's in my heart, the anger that's in my body out, because I'm doing something about it. And I believe that that right there is very, very, very important. Because one thing I learned, that when you watch events that's been taking place in 2020 and all that, one of the things that I've noticed is that the conditions, the policies, the laws stay the same. It's just the people that done changed. You know what I'm talking about? The people that done changed, but the conditions are still there. Why are the conditions still there? Because we're only focusing on the people. But if we stop focusing on the people, then maybe we could start dealing with some of these things that just keep on coming up over and over and over again. So I believe that anger is good when you talk about a nonviolent movement, because it could like spark people to want to get up and do something. I mean, the type of energy, like Arun talked about earlier, is enough that you could do something good with it, or you could do something bad with it. But anger gets you up and make you want to do something with it. But then when you have the nonviolent aspect to it, nonviolent is one word. You remember the last DVD? When you have nonviolence as one word, then you understand that, you know what? Don't focus on the person, you focus on the condition. And recently, I've been carrying a lot of anger around in my heart, because recently I came up for a parole review. I was able to get off parole. So I've been out for 5 years. So I was looking forward to this. I was like, all right, then I've been doing the right thing. You know, I haven't went back to prison. So I mean, yeah, I should get off this time. But I didn't. On December 31st, 2020, my parole officer told me that, you know what? Uh, is you've been denied. You're not gonna get off parole this time. You could reapply in 2022. Yeah, I mean, like, that was a lot of anger, and I was like, wow, man. I was like, come on, man, not again, man. And so yeah, but again, though, it wasn't my parole officer's fault. He's the person. It's the so I said, you know what? But for a brief moment, I did think that he might have been the issue, because I was like, hold on, maybe he lied on the report. Maybe he told them that they should keep me on. But then I said, you know what? That's not the issue. No, the issue is that, you know what, brother, is that first of all, it's like, if I'm looking to do all this good stuff with the hope that I could get recognized by getting off parole one day. I could get recognized by giving, I don't know, by getting some type of prize or something, then maybe I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. I mean, I used to always say in prisons with like, why should you thank a father for being a father? I mean, you're supposed to be a father. You're supposed to take care of your kids. I mean, why are you looking for a prize because you taking care of your kids? So I think it's kind of similar to that right there. Why am I looking for a prize? I mean, to do the right thing if I'm doing the right thing for the right reasons. So yeah, so rather than focus on my parole officer and be angry at him, I began to ask myself that, you know what, why are you doing what you're doing, first of all? And then the second thing is that, you know what, I mean, this whole parole review thing, maybe that's something that need to be talked about, because when you think about the whole parole review for men that have life bids, women that have life bids, and how they get off parole, I mean, like, why can't you speak for yourself? I mean, why can't you like sit down and like represent yourself or talk in your favor so that people could listen to you, people could hear you? That right there may be a bigger issue than taking my anger out on my parole officer and stuff like that. And then taking my anger out on him, what would that do for me? I mean, that wouldn't do anything for me. All that'll do is just that anger burn or begin to continue to build up in me. And then that anger left unchecked could turn into hatred. And then what would that do for me? And then, just like I said earlier, that's like internal violence of the spirit. And that's something that Keeney and Nonviolence talk about too, like avoid internal violence of the spirit and external physical violence. That right there is one of his principles. So I mean, yeah, I mean, anger and nonviolence is very, very important. I mean, they go hand in hand. But in order for you to handle anger, I believe in a constructive way, in a helpful way to you and the others, is to have that nonviolent component to it. Because anger left unchecked, you could do something. I done things in the past that I done later regret. I done been like, man, why did I respond to that situation like that? I know I could have handled that differently. So yes, anger and nonviolence definitely go hand in hand. But I mean, but that isn't to deny that you ever get angry, but it's to make sure that when you get angry, where's your attention focused at? Where's your heart at? And that right there help you decide on how you can begin to use that anger in a constructive way rather than a destructive way. So this right here brings us to the end of our third DVD on anger. DVD number 4 is going to be on relationships. Me and Arun is going to talk about the importance of relationships and how that relates to the season of nonviolence, and how that relates to nonviolence, period, how that relates to conflict and anger. Thank you again for attending these dialogue sessions with us. And I'm going to be looking forward to hearing questions from you guys soon too, so we could expound on some of the things that you have on your mind.